Okay, so cueing, signing is it's about meaning. It's semantic, right? So this is a tree. I have a car. The car hit the tree, right? And the tree fell down. I think that's right, grammar, right? Yeah, the interpreter agrees. So if you were going to do that, if you're going to do that in cueing, what would you would say is, um, this is a car. I mean, tree. You could say tree, but it's really phonemically it's tree. Tree. This is a car. The car hit the tree. So what you're doing is you're supporting the sounds. It's phonemic, based on the smallest unit of meaningful sound, right? Um, so what's really neat about it, I really like it. I mean, don't get me wrong, if I had to watch it all day, I think I'd kill someone because I just can't. My lip reading's awful. I was telling the interpreter before. I said I went to University of Maryland and I was trying to improve my lip reading skills. And I went in and there's all these like speech pathology students, they're really, cute, cute. And all like perfectly dressed. And I go in, I'm all kind of sloppy. And I sit down and they test me on the lip reading. And it's really stressful because I'm awful. And I got 25% accuracy. And then I studied and studied and studied and did all of these boring therapy, exercises again and again and again. And at the end of the semester, guess how much I improved? Come on, guess. I was still at 25%. All right, hold on a second. So if I had to watch cueing, I am not a good person for cueing reading, but for expressive cueing, I'm pretty good. I'm a good cuer. I just can't take in what I give out. Which is a little bit frustrating because I go to these cute speech camps and you can't sign. You're not supposed to sign, but I can't understand anyone. I just feel like I'm just like cue deaf the whole time, but like 2 days, 3 days, I don't understand. Shannon, can we see your face? I need to warn her about the recording.
I don't see that she has sound even.
I don't see that she has sound. Yeah. I'm looking over there at that. It has like videotape and it's off. And then it also has no sound. Well, a smart person, I'm sure. Whoever she is, I don't know her. So anyway, the cueing, the whole thing is like a card, like an index card. Like you could put it on a business card, the whole system. But then again, so is chess. All of the rules are easy. The application, not easy. So cueing, it's easy to memorize it, like the rules, just like, the knight, the one on the horse in chess, it moves in an L. And I can remember that, but I never know where to put it. So people can learn it basically between an hour, 2 hours, up to about 15 hours is pretty normal. And to become really fast at it, it's like 1 or 2 months. But my point is, when you look at the research, oh, she's coming back. When you look at the research on the cueing, it really supports reading and writing. Hello. Can't hear you. It's just a way you can give treatment that's free, that the parents can do, and that does not make that person bleed anymore. Do you have a mic? No? Okay. So back to APD. What I'm hoping in terms of the goals of the meetings in general is to take a look at ways that we can open more collaboration in the field and the outside allied professionals. I want to improve the access and the quality of the resources related to the evaluation and treatment. I don't know the sign of that. Of APD, misophonia, hyperacusis, tinnitus, and combinations of those. And also how they apply to related things like you're saying, Ariel, the well, yeah, the ANSD, like I'm saying, but also autism, nonverbal learning disabilities, sensory processing disorders, ADHD, dyslexia, slow processing, articulation disorders, fluency disorders, language disorders, and supposed cognitive impairment that might not be true. And I think it's really important that we also focus a lot more on slight to mild hearing loss. Because
which noise do you want? I turned my mic off.
I'm hoping we can kind of, find a group of people that are a little bit more open to the idea of sharing information and helping each other, that we can have kind of a regular group of meetings. And I don't really need to be in charge. I just thought, if nobody's doing it, why not? And bring in some other, real experts. But I think you got to start small, because they're not even going to notice us if we don't have a group that they want to have bigger groups to pay attention to them. And sometimes you don't want the really big people because they're stuck in their ways.
So, Dr. Ray,
Uh-huh.
I am, and maybe you aren't going to get into this, but I think I found you because I was super interested in, I'd been doing a lot of the diagnostics for APD and felt really comfortable in that lane. And I had been hearing about low gain hearing aids, and that is where I think I would consider you would probably be one of the leading experts in the field as far as how many people that you have fit with low gain hearing aids.
Yeah.
And I will say that you were so generous and like so awesome with your time and like helping me feel comfortable with that. It was an area that I just was not, I don't know, scary, And so, and then the success that I have seen with it has been amazing. And so I don't know if you're planning on sharing any of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one
I'm
of
just
the things
jumping
I
in
think is really
because like,
important to talk about, because we only have an hour. So let's talk
yeah.
about it.
So, but maybe that wasn't your plan for today, but I just thought that is like
my plan is to follow the river of ADHD.
Oh, cool.
Okay. low gain hearing aids. I fit about 3,000 up until now. Around 70% have shown benefit, and not just a little bit of benefit, enough benefit that they're willing to shell out money. Okay, and 30% washed out. But of that group, about half of them come back because they know that it's really low risk. Is that this sign? Risk. Yeah, risk. Because I only charge like $100 that they can't return. Because of I ship. I'm 100% virtual. Where? Okay, admit. So I think the problem we're seeing is that the password. Let me quickly go into our group just so I can fix it there and put a comment at the top. Yeah, why do I post so much stuff? Okay. Edit post. The password is Zach. Okay. Hopefully that'll fix it. Okay, so of the group who has benefited, the kinds of ways that they've benefited, I wanted to go through in a second. Hold on. Here we go. They're not in order. I mean, they're in order, but I've skipped some of the ones I thought were more boring. So out of 40 people, they're not all mine. These are people from my Facebook group. Some of them got low gain hearing aids from another person. Okay. The top one is more ability to hear in background noise. And that was 67.5% said that. This is from the people who benefited. Okay, so 70%, it's that group, okay? In the 70%, 67.5% say they hear better in background noise, even though their hearing is normal. Okay? Faster response to speech. That was 55%. And I'll tell you a story about that real quick. I had this autistic guy who worked for like UPS or something like that. He was non-speaking. And you would ask him a question, he would type or write. And he would need like anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds to respond. With the hearing aids, after about a month, his response became instantaneous. And other benefits. I mean, other benefits like people could talk with him across, you know, the factory floor. He was less stressed, less tired. Okay. Improvement in mood, 55%. Better energy, 55%. I mean, people could check off more than one thing. Improved self-confidence, 42.5%. More ability to remember verbal information, 42.5%. Less sensitivity to loud sounds, hyperacusis, 30%. So in other words, 1 in 3 are saying loud sounds are better. And if you come back either Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to meet Nye. And Nye will talk about that. Improvements in expressive speech. So like better artic. I had a girl who went to speech therapy for 7 years. She got the trial, the trial 6 weeks, and she was kicked out of speech because she graduated. Fewer or milder outbursts at home, 22.5%. I mean, really, that's 1 out of 5, right? That's a big deal for autism and similar PDA kids not to be blowing up. Okay, so you said that you work at the VA and you do testing. Do you do hearing aids too?
For me, yes,
Yeah.
we do hearing aids too. Yeah. And I think nowadays it's like even with mild hearing loss, like really fairly mild hearing loss, the common complaint is like difficulty in background noise. So without testing if they're really getting the benefit of like even having the hearing aids on, I do have a quick question. For like normal hearing, and when you're referring to like a low gain hearing aid, what's the typical protocol for you to enter? I mean, when I was in school, sometimes they do like 40 across the board, or
Yeah.
kind
Which brands are you using?
of mostly phonak.
Okay, I am a phonak person. Let me show you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Here, hold on. I want to pull up one that you that isn't a patient. I'll be quiet. All right. Okay, I'll pull up my son's because nobody can get upset about that. All right, share screen. I give permission to show my son's audiogram and whatever. Okay. So basically, I use Francis Cuck, his protocol, his basis. And he said no more than around 10 dB for soft. I'll go to 11, not 12. He said no more than around 7 or 8 dB for medium. And I'll agree on that. And on the louds, I'll limit it to 4 or less, typically starting with more in the lows than in the highs because I want it to allow the low pitch like vowels to come through. Okay. I don't use a fake audiogram. What I do is I use in situ. I mean, I have an audiogram, of course, but I use the in situ to let me really see how much sound they're hearing behaviorally. Okay. And I'll compare both the soft and the loud. So you'll notice my son, who is autistic, ADHD like me, has a lot of sensitivity to high pitch. It hurts. I mean, look at that dynamic range, right? I mean, you're getting 10 dB from threshold to pain. So I also run the feedback test because it gives a measurement of how big or small the ear is. And I estimate the vent as part of what I'm doing. Okay.
Can I interrupt quick? I have a question.
Yeah, I keep running. I'll rub my nose meanwhile.
So on the feedback test, I guess again, I talk about my fears a lot. I should let those go. Let them go, Courtney. I sometimes worry on my hyperacusis people about running the feedback test because I'm worried that it's gonna cause pain. Have you ever encountered that? Like, have you ever had someone where you
I've
like had
never
to
had
stop it?
anybody like freak out
Okay,
because I give them a
maybe
really
it's your counseling and
I
maybe
I say to them, I say, look, it's going to be 15 seconds. It's really going to be awful, but it's only 15 seconds. It'll mean that I'm not going to hurt you in the future. Can you put up with it for 15 seconds for each year? And I wait for them to agree. And if they say no, I won't do it.
Mhm. I will say most it's not a problem. There's just some where I'm just like I made that decision for them because I was worried that it was going to be a problem.
But you just look at that. Look at that dynamic range. I mean, it he did not like the feedback test, but he also hasn't really like developed a trauma response to sound yet. So if I had a person who is like noxicusis, right, who's really gotten trauma mixed up with pain, mixed up with sensitivity, I would really be sure to talk with them about the ability to take them off if it's too much. I think you just have to give the patient, agency. I mean, the more control they have, the less fear, the more tolerance. So, all right. For my kid, I'm giving him, and it's not, a final draft because nothing is a final draft. You're always changing it. And because I work virtually, I can go back to my patients anytime, any day, and they don't need to drive to me. But you'll notice he's getting no more than 10, and I'm edging it off in the highs because they hurt. I'm giving him no more than 3, which is what I tend to limit to for children. And then you'll notice that the MPOs have a little bit more leeway in the mid frequencies because that's where I want the speech to focus. And you'll notice that I use frequency compression on almost all of my people because it helps make the like S, T, TH, SH more clear. And it also cuts out things like, those flickering lights and the sounds from TVs and things. So it can really reduce things like misophonia, hyperacusis, things like that. When I look at the program options, I've pendulumed on how much to give. And I think I swung a little too far and started giving too much noise reduction. And it was actually impacting kids not picking up as much speech as I wanted. So I've been moving it back, but not all the way to the default. I try not to give them directional because I don't want them not to be noticing what's happening around them. I mean, they're kids. For adults, I'll do it, but I'll do it in one of the added programs so they're aware. I always give a pink noise without gain program. And, if you added it all up, it's probably about 65 decibels because of some of them being around 50. If you add it all, it would probably be around 60, 65, but still not dangerous, just enough that if they need to hide or have a break from the world, they have the right to not hear. Because I believe that children, adults, everybody has the right to control their own senses. And they have the right to just not pay attention sometimes. It's okay. We can't be on all the time. On these guys, I tend to give 8 to 10, closer to 8 for the kids. Really flat response on the music. And then I change it to taste. They come back and they say, I don't like this. So I change it, I don't like that. So I change it again. And I change it based on self-report, which is really the only way to know. Just like you can't really believe an ABR is really a hearing test. If you can't get behavioral information, you don't really know anything. That makes sense? Sarah, I know you're there.
Yes.
Why,
Hello.
why don't you tell us who you are?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I'm picking my mom up at the airport, so I'm in the car listening as we speak. I am Sarah Zach. I'm an audiologist in Jacksonville, Florida, and I do lots of auditory processing testing, and I've been fitting low gain hearing aids for a little over 5 years now, and have just had the most wonderful success. It's just crazy. But I have been taking pictures of your settings. I do similar settings as you, but I do put in an audiogram to start. I start them at like 25. Like I'll give them like, it'll be like 10, 10, 10, then at like 1,000 hertz, I'll go to like 15, 20, and 25. And then I go from there. And I kind of some of our kids with articulation issues, I'll give them just a little bit more in the highs so they can really hear those sounds come out. But it's just like you said.
Do you use frequency compression?
Yeah. So it's the younger kids are a little bit harder, because it's hard to get really good feedback from them.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to, like you do, I have to really work on UCLs and things like that with them. But
How young?
yeah, I mean,
how young have you gone?
so far, the youngest was he just turned 6.
Okay.
So he had been in speech since 2 years of age, has a terrible auditory processing. He was disordered and everything, still has articulation issues, and screams when he talks. He talks so loudly. And so the parents, I only gave him one because I only had one trial because I had them all out. And the parents, like the next day, were like, we want both of them. He's doing so well, So I'm fitting him next week with
That's
2 of
exciting.
his own. So, yeah. I'm really
one of the
excited.
things that would be really nice. So today, there's a woman in a state that I don't have licensure. There's only one state that I don't have licensure. It's cheesy. It's cheesy, but it's Wisconsin.
Oh.
Anyway, Susan Feinreich is like a BCHIS dispenser. And
Mm-hmm.
she had a woman who had, you know, kind of like an APD loss, but has a history with like fever, like COVID or something, and the other ear has a drop. So she had called me and she said, you know, she had sent me a patient before, and she called me and she said, could you help me? So I've been sitting on their appointments, not doing the programming, of course, because I'm not licensed in Wisconsin, as cheesy as that may
Mm.
sound.
Yeah.
But helping. And there's
Yeah.
nobody who says you can't help.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool if, I don't know, I like it because it's really neat to see how other people program. And I know there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of, you know, HIPAA problems that can happen, but at the same time, you know, like in a teaching hospital, I think
Yeah.
that we should be observing each other a little bit to pick up
Yeah.
new ideas and to team, because maybe one person doesn't think of something and the other person thinks of it, that once in a while it's nice to see each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I can start taking some screenshots of like of our the successful fittings, and because they are different for each child. They're not the same. Like I always start off at a certain level, but I always have to go off off script usually. um but I can always take like setting pictures and share them
Maybe like
of,
a, what
you
is it,
know.
a grand rounds that we could
Yeah.
actually present.
Yeah.
This is a patient, I'm not sure what to do about this, and I'm going
Yeah.
to get rid of all of the identifying information about this patient, but help me because I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I think
For
one of
sure.
the things that we should be doing in these meetings, hopefully that go on and that'll make it really interesting, is to have like that grand rounds idea that we can help each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that for sure. I have some really interesting ones coming up, so
Mhm.
um I'm so excited to see how they turn out. But my apraxic 14-year-old,
I've
I'm
had
so
one.
excited.
I've had one with apraxia. Actually, it was two.
Mhm.
I had
Yeah.
twins with apraxia. They were, well, I fit one when she was 3, and the other one when he was 5.5. And the
That's
one
cra-
that,
I
mhm.
I was thinking about you the other day because I was thinking, oh my gosh, what if we should just put hearing aids on autistic children too? I mean, not the ones with super sound sensitivities,
But it
but I
helps
mean,
it. It helps it.
yeah, yeah. But I
No,
was like,
I see the dynamic range increases by double in 3 or 4
yeah,
weeks. It helps the
I was,
autistics.
I was like, that should be a treatment plan going forward when you see like the 2-year-olds in your clinic, and then they're like, huh, maybe
And
we
we should
should
be
try
putting,
when the ones that don't respond to their names and things like that, so
and we should be giving like extended trial to like the kids who have
yeah.
like fluctuating hearing loss so that they don't
Oh,
get auditory
yes,
deprivation.
yes. Oh, I've seen some terrible auditory deprivation
Uh-huh,
with
me too.
perfs, kids
Uh-huh.
and perfs. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
so what if you break a few of the speakers on the Ricks? Change it out to a
you're
new
right,
one. I mean, if it's not
yeah,
Signia and everything's used.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it should be used more for sure.
So can I tell you what happened with the twins? I think you
Sure.
saw that story, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read it. I read a lot of your stuff, so.
Well, in a nutshell, I mean, if it's okay with Shannon and Ariel, and too bad for Courtney.
Well, we love to hear that.
So there's these 3/4 twins, okay? The moms are sisters, they use the same donor. and they live right next to each other, basically. So the kids live in the same household, basically. They go back and forth. And I worked with the first one, and the mom had been teaching signing. And they're both, severe autistic, not speaking at 3. And the one, I fit her, and within 10 days, she starts talking. And at this point, she's 8. I mean, that's like time 8. She's 8. Or they're both 8. And she's fully conversational in mainstream school, minimal supports. Clearly, I mean, she's reading, she's writing, she's interacting, she has friends, she does activities. I mean, she's not neurotypical. I mean, I'm not neurotypical, as another autistic. But she started so low function, and now she's high function. The other
That's
one,
amazing.
it's a little bit sad. The mom, it was financial, and it was shame. Didn't want to be involved in the whole hearing aid thing because she couldn't really afford it, and she was ashamed. So she didn't do it. So he was 5.5. And if I remember right, sister, this one paid for this one. Okay. And he started improving. But at this point, and he's doing better. He's reading and writing. He's caught up in math. He's using a Gestalt language and, echolalia to communicate. But he's on a lot of psych meds because he's just so stressed and anxious all the time. I'm not sure how much influence the early signing impacted, twin A, because twin B didn't have that. But I will say that I'm pretty sure that the hearing aids made the difference also.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, and this one, no meds.
Wow. Yeah.
And people are like, you can't put Ricks on a 3-year-old. What are you thinking? She's going to eat it. I'm like, look, she doesn't eat things. The mom said this is a kid who's really just fastidious about everything, doesn't eat things. I'm not worried about it. Do you know she would turn on the pink noise herself when she felt overwhelmed so she wouldn't melt down?
Kids are amazing. They really are. Yeah, that's so cool.
Do you have any other ones? How about Courtney? You have any interesting ones?
My most interesting one, I don't know that it will top this, but it might. I fit she was probably 6, I think. And I would just call it like general cognitive disorder, general cognitive delays. Like really sweet, followed instructions, but really had very little expressive language, sort of just weird behaviors, like sometimes too affectionate, and maybe she has been classified as on the spectrum, but she wasn't at that point. And mom said she once I put the low gains on her, that night she emailed me and she said, oh my gosh, her pupils have always been so dilated. Her pupils are normal size. And she goes, so I took them out, like her pupils.
Fight?
Yes, that's what was her analogy. She
That's
goes
so like polyvagal.
I know. And that's why I was like, whoa, like my brain had never connected that even, like I never thought to look at pupils. And since
Is there
then
any way that we can
I look at kids'
no,
pupils
no,
now.
but can we measure? Is there I saw that there's like an iPhone app
Oh, I don't know.
measurement for pupillometry, but I
I
want
always
it to be
figured you have to have like
virtual.
special
Everything for me has to be
glasses.
virtual.
Yeah, this is just solely based on mom's observation. She just like she's like, well, she like was noticing other things, and she goes, she ran up to me and she goes, it was the first time I looked at her and her pupils were normal size, like not huge. That's crazy. There's
That's
no
cool.
explanation for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I
I
think
know.
like
That's
if
what I
we
want to know. It's like the explanations. Like, give it to me.
well,
Why?
and that's why I think if we stay so focused on what research article did you read that made you feel comfortable to do this? If we get stuck on that, there are so many people who and kids and adults and whatever that can't be helped. If we are willing to try things, and the reason I was willing to try is because of you, I will say, Dr. A, is like hearing your success stories. And then once you start having your own, that was it for me. Like that's all I need. I didn't,
I mean, it's not dangerous. It
yeah.
doesn't have to be expensive for the family. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
why not try it every time we can and see what happens?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
more
And I
like
also will
it's
say
like
like
a
auditory
treatment
training,
trial.
I think that you should always they should always try some training too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. Like it's not end all be
But
all.
why can't you have a trial on the training? I mean, why do you have to
Yeah,
put down $10,000 or whatever it is for the training, like visual training? I'm not
right.
making fun of any auditory, but I'm saying, why do you have to pay that like a chunk before you know if it's going to help?
Yeah. And I just think it is hard to find training options that are realistic, like for the like, am I supposed to be driving my kid in 4 times a week somewhere, for a 20-minute session or a half-hour session? I do think it's not only cost, that's a barrier, is the time aspect, I think.
I mean, I understand that we as professionals need ways to make money. And auditory training does pay many people's salaries. But why can't we do more virtually? Where we lead the family and then they do follow up and we can see more people for less cost for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, one of the places we work with, they can do it virtually. I mean, we really focus for auditory, we do auditory training and hearing aids for our younger kids who are, have reading impairment plus auditory impairment. I mean, we use the Buffalo model and we go back to the beginning and teach them the phonemes again because somehow they missed it along the line. And then we do it with and without the hearing aids. But they do one session a week, and then they do virtual sessions too. So with the parent there, of course, but it's, I mean,
How
it's
do
a
you
pretty cool program.
how do you teach the phonemes? I mean, what I'm really asking is this. There's a lot of people, okay, maybe not a lot. There's a few people I've convinced that the queuing can go along well, and the research is supporting it. It goes along well with like OG or UFly
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
Barton and all those. So why couldn't it go along with Buffalo model?
Well, I mean, it does. So the speech pathologist is also Orton Gillingham trained as well. But the Buffalo model starts with, it's actually pretty simple. It's picture cards. And it's like, it works on point to, like going all the way back to the beginning. And so it's like cueing, but it's like with and without cues. Like it just depends on how delayed the child is. Um,
When you go to the next
so,
level though, the queuing can give like running speech
oops.
and show, for example, like, supercalifragilistic, you
Yeah, no,
can't do that with your cards.
I asked our speech pathologist about it after I talked to you, and but she doesn't know cute speech, but I spoke to another person in Jacksonville and they do, so and she's doing the same thing. So yeah, I've been on the horn in
Thank you.
Jacksonville trying to figure it out.
I know I have
So
I have such I have such a thing, such an addiction with the queuing because I really think it would be just such a good universal intervention.
yeah, for sure.
Sarah, I like that I wasn't sure because I've been trying to like wrap my head around doing that with hearing aids versus out hearing aids. So
Hmm.
can I pick your brain super quick? Do you do
Sure.
like in the same session hearing aids and no hearing aids, or do you do like, okay, one round with, one round without, or how do you do that?
So she'll start with like some of our kids who are really disordered. We have got to start with the hearing aids because they cannot get them right without it. And so she'll do a couple times with it, and then once they start getting them right with it, she will start doing without it.
Is she
So
using a mic too?
because no, she's not using a mic.
Okay.
No, it's just one-on-one. And then as they progress, a lot of our kids, take a little while just to get past that part because they just have a terrible time hearing. And then she'll work on speech and noise in the same situation. Most of the time she has to use the hearing aids with speech and noise because they cannot do it without them. So like it's 50% with them, I mean without them, and 100% with them. So so she has to really work on that. But yeah, it's individually based. We try to get those sounds first and correlate it with the vision part. So, really working on like and it's a B, and then once they establish that, then they can move on. So
You know those whisper phones or whatever they are, the whisper phones, where it's like the tube that goes from the ear to the mouth.
oh,
I've been encouraging parents to use the partner mic
oh
because it
yeah,
has
yeah.
that 40 millisecond lag
Hmm.
to have the kid hear their own speech, and we're seeing improvements on articulation.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I usually give the partner mic or the connect clip out to all the kids. So
But do they use them?
yeah, they love they love talking to themselves in it. That's their favorite thing to
No,
do,
that's what I'm
you
saying.
know.
I've been telling the parents to let the kid talk to themselves
Yeah,
because they
they love
can't
it.
hear their own voice.
Yeah. And so then yeah, and then they use it, of course, in whatever session they need it at school or as therapies. And so I have to go. My mom just landed, so I've got to go get her. I'm so sorry.
I'm so glad you could come.
But I'm gonna try to keep coming on all these because
Oh,
I love to hear all the information.
it would be so awesome if you could, because I get really nervous about this. I've never done anything like this
Oh,
before. So having allies makes me feel so much more happy inside.
oh, you're doing a great job. Thank you for putting this together. I really appreciate it. I want to get the word out so we can help, as many kids as
Put
we
it,
can. I would love I mean, this is down the road. I would love for us to do some kind of research project on hearing aid kids with autism and hearing aids. That would be amazing.
as
We
one
could
of those
collaborate.
former
We got
kids
this.
who uses hearing aids, I would
Yeah.
agree.
We could collaborate on a research project. We could be published. Yeah.
When I met with Doug Beck last week, he said
Uh-huh.
that he said my stuff was dead on. That's actually what he
Yeah.
said. And he said, you need to be published, you need to be connected with somebody in a hospital or a university so that you can collaborate and publish, because there's too many kids that are getting lost.
Yeah. A university would be
But there
great.
needs to be more than just me. I do not want to be the lone voice in the woods.
Yeah. I'll do it with you. Oh God, we
Awesome.
got this. But from all the way from Florida.
Hey, I'm licensed in Florida if you want me to be able to like shadow you sometime, or vice versa.
Of course. Of course.
All right.
All
Talk to
right.
you
Well, I
later.
gotta go, but talk to you later. Bye.
All right, Shannon. Who are you? Now we're curious.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Well, I don't see children. I work with adults, and I own a clinic, but one of my clinicians is very interested in helping children, setting up
Mhm.
an APD program. So I'm kind of listening in to get more information about, she sees a lot of adults with autism or some children. But we have fit adults with normal hearing.
I saw, just so you know, I think half of Google and IBM, like
Mhm.
autistic adults,
Yeah.
and they have
So,
done great.
yeah, and I would really like to, that's what I would like to do. We would like to be able to see improvements in people's ability to communicate.
They can leave the
Um,
house now.
yes,
I
that's
mean,
wonderful.
they're just so much more independent. I mean, these are really high function people,
Hmm.
but they're just by the end of the day, they can't have a social life because they're
Hmm.
so dead tired.
Hmm.
I hope my
And
signing's not bothering you.
I've worked with a lot of people with hyperacusis, it's
Mhm.
an area, and tinnitus. A few people with misophonia, but more hyperacusis. And
There's somebody who's going to be coming. I can't remember which day, but it's Marcia Dewey
oh, Marsha, okay.
from Wisconsin, the one state that I don't have licensure in.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sorry, it just took so much. I almost died trying to get licensure. We crashed a car in Texas
Oh my gosh,
in a snowstorm.
wow,
So
that's
anyway,
amazing.
it's expensive. It's hard to do, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to know that there's that kid stuck somewhere and they
Hmm.
can't get help, that I'll be allowed to work with them.
Hmm. And tell me about you. Do you have your own practice? Do you work for a group?
Mhm.
How do you do what you do?
I work from a bedroom and I
Okay.
have two staff. So
Hmm.
I've seen, like I said, I had seen about 3,000 kids and adults that I've done low gain hearing aid trials. I was one of the very first people to do it, 2013.
Hmm.
So I've done a
Okay.
lot. And I have a Facebook group that's really active. It's
Okay.
like
And what group? I'm
10,000.
sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, it's the auditory processing and sensitivities disorders.
Oh, nice. Nice. Okay.
But it's
Perfect.
it's like 10,000, and there's other audiologists there, and I encourage it. I do not block audiologists from coming in. I'm trying
Okay.
to encourage them to come in because there's millions and millions of people who need our help. This is
Hmm.
not, what is it called? A scarcity
Right.
environment.
Right. Interesting. Wow.
So
And
why
what
not
made
support
you,
each other?
right, right. And what made you decide to start this business and do it online?
Okay. So I have to tell you the story of patient zero. So basically I'm also bipolar. So
Hmm.
ADHD, autistic, bipolar, pretty common mixture. But and I'm sure that they're all genetically handed down.
Hmm.
My mom died recently from basically depression
Mm.
this year in September.
Mm.
Anyway, and I decided I'm not going to let that happen to me.
Mm.
I I was going to Gallaudet because I was really just fed up with corporate offices, and the percentages and the commissions and the games and the return
Mhm.
rate and all of that. I just had
Mhm.
had it. I am not a person who wants to be controlled that way because it's just not ethical. I don't like it. So I went to Gallaudet to try to think about becoming a professor, maybe, or a researcher. But the problem is I'm so ADHD that
Mhm.
I'm not a good researcher by myself. I need to have other people to tell me, oh, this is how to break down this task. Just do that. Don't get overwhelmed, you know? So I had a baby. And during the time just before I had him, I had been taught, I had been working with Larry Medwetsky, and he had studied under Jack Katz. So anyway, part of part of the reason why I'm signing is it helps me with organizing my thoughts, but also because I
Mhm.
know that my friend Shay wanted to know how it went, and I told her I promised I would simcom.
Mhm.
So I hope it's not bothering you.
No, it's good.
Okay, I'm embarrassed. So
Mhm.
anyway, I had the baby, and I had become a bit hypomanic because I hadn't been taking, like, lithium,
Mhm.
because I didn't want him to have the
That's
heart problem, the baby. And because of that, I think I was willing to try things I would not have tried otherwise. I was more brave, you know? So I was talking with this woman who had adopted a baby from Asia. I'm not going to say where. And the girl had had malaria and had brain lesions and really high fevers and everything. And when they brought her home, they noticed a lot of things were wrong. Like, she had dyspraxia with her body and apraxia with the speech, and she developed some dyslexia, and she couldn't hear if there was any noise, and she was really sensitive to sound. So they diagnosed her with autism, and the only place that was willing to try to look at APD was House Ear Institute. But the waiting list was 2 years. So I'm talking with this woman on like a Yahoo group, because it's before Facebook really became popular. And I thought about it, and I decided to approach her with an idea, which was if she would fly out. I had been reading Francis Cuck, his work, and some of the other things on FM systems. And I really didn't like FM because it tethers you to the teachers, and it makes the kids not have as much independence or self advocacy, And I thought, even though Dr. Cook's, not sure how to say his name, but I'm actually in contact with him now. He'd only had like kind of positive results, but it was 4 or 5 years before. I thought there was a chance because I was a really good programmer, and I was doing a lot with like tinnitus and whatever else with like near normal hearing. I thought maybe I could improve on it. So I said, fly out here, you pay for the flight, we won't charge you for the test. And I got permission from Larry, and we borrowed an office from a congregant from my dad, who was a cantor, so Jewish. So we borrowed it. Her name is Marcia. Actually, it's Marcia Schwartz. Was a PhD audiologist. So we borrowed her. We borrowed her office for free, which I was really grateful. They flew out, and we had 2 days with them. And the first day was testing. The second day was fitting, and she failed everything, every test, everything. And he did not just APD, he did like Linda Mood testing. She was really just really in bad shape. And somebody had even said to the mom, you'll be lucky if she can get a job as a bagger in the grocery. So she couldn't hear in the car. She couldn't hear if she couldn't see you. And on the second day after the hearing aids, she started interrupting and eavesdropping like a real teenager. And then she went back to the place she was from, like 3,000 miles. And she won second place in the state spelling bee, even though her phonology was not good. She memorized 35,000 words. And then she started getting involved with like equestrian, dressage, and she competed internationally. And then she got into college, um, and studied physics and math. So after that, it seemed like a good idea to continue. But I waited a little bit, you know. I worked at an ENT. I started doing some fittings on kids with FASD. Um, the clinic didn't like that, so they let me go. And when that happened, I basically set up a practice with the girl's mom. But it did not work out because of professional differences. I wanted less money in the practice and more for the kids. I just didn't feel good about what was happening. So I left, and it was COVID, and everyone followed me. Yeah.
That's great. Sounds wonderful.
Thank you for sharing. I do
Yeah.
want to say, because I have another meeting at 4:30, so I might hop off anytime, but I will join the session for tomorrow too. It's good to
Oh,
hear.
great. I think we're going to see some international people, including maybe somebody from Israel who I didn't fit them, but I influenced them to find a person there and how to set it up. And the story is amazing. So if you put your email in the, or you send it to me, because you
Okay.
can find my name, I can send you, her name is Jackie Edry, and she's like a disability advocate. I can send you the blogs that she wrote about her son, who's
Wow.
a almost non-speaking autistic teenager, and the changes that happen because of the AIDS is really noticeable.
That's good to hear. Yes, I'll definitely do that. You guys mentioned about the pupil size and all that. Was funny is, so I went to school in Wisconsin Madison, and in one
That's
of our
cheesy.
and in one of our cochlear implant labs, the pupil measuring is actually one of their research thing as well, for like kind of measuring listening effort. So
Yes.
it's still in like lab situation, but I never thought that parents will notice that.
I've heard that you can take pictures of it
they
and
do
measure.
They do video cameras, but that also involves like they have only, I think, I don't know if they have started with kids, but when I was there, it was mainly for adults, because you'll have to literally like open your eyes and making sure like the eyelashes and all of that to reduce like the contamination of the tracing. But
Hmm.
it's something that I think it's
Maybe
getting
there's
more.
a way to do it a little bit more rough, and it won't be perfect, but maybe we could do it just with pictures.
Maybe that will be something that'll be interesting. I think, guys, like I'll be at AAA and see if this year there might be someone doing that too. I think every year there's something small things popping up too.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy
Yeah.
you'll come tomorrow. This has been a very, very scary thing to do, but I've known for a long time this is a calling for me. And I've known for a long time I need to find allies.
I think it's also like I'm a shy person too. So when it's like something with a really small group initially, I'll be like, could I really contribute to something? But I'm
But you
glad to hear
do.
that it's really an interactive way of learning, which is great. Well,
Totally.
thank you for sharing today and have a great evening. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow.
And I'm thinking if it's too big of a group, what people might do is break into breakout groups so it's smaller. I mean, I get really like rejection dysphoric. So it does better sometimes with only 2 or 3 people. All right,
Well,
we'll see you then.
I'll see you tomorrow then. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for coming.
So is there research out there? If I missed it, I'm so sorry if I missed the beginning.
There's
Is there
some
a lot
there's
research about
there's
there?
there's not a lot of research out there. There's a little
Okay.
bit that's come out more having to do with adults with like blast trauma and stuff and less having to do with the children, but there is research on FM and how the
Okay.
low levels of amplification from FM can increase like attention and learning and reading and stuff. Um, there's a couple articles that came out in the last 3 years or so, but it's
Mhm.
not many. No, this is a
Mhm.
very open field where people have no idea what's going on. And a lot of it's because APD doesn't exist.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it doesn't exist as one thing. It's many
Mhm.
things. Like the story of the blind men and the elephant. You know, where all the blind men are trying to figure out what this elephant is, and they keep going, well, that's a rope, or that's a tree, or that's a rock, but they don't talk to each other, so they don't figure out the pattern. And the truth is that the APD is it's the pattern that's causing some of the autism. It's the pattern that's causing some of these other issues.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what it is, but there's something wrong between the brain and the ear that is not
Mhm.
working. And it could be ANSD partially. It could be cognitive fatigue,
Mhm.
whatever it is. And the tests are crap. I mean, the tests are crap. And
Mhm.
if you look at that audiology online, the 20 questions thing that Andy Vermiglio did, that
Mhm.
he sent to me and I hadn't seen, but I already knew the tests were crap. They're not based on anything real,
The
but
APD test.
they're not good.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's what we have. Just like if I'm saying we're going to do a pupillometry, let's just take snapshots, is not good, but it's
Mhm.
better than nothing. And it's what at least gets the kids some kind of accommodation. So you got to play by the rules at least somewhat while you're
Mhm.
figuring out what you're going to replace it with.
Mhm. My daughter had APD testing when she was young. And she has, she wasn't in the spectrum, but she went through sensory integration therapy. She has other issues going on,
Mhm.
but she went through AIT also
Oh, yeah.
when she was little. Berard. Yeah. She's in the background. Mom, you can just say what it is.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
anyways.
the issue with a lot of the auditory training is that it doesn't generalize.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I think it's because it's boring. Honestly, I think it's because
Hmm.
it's boring and nobody's really wanting to do it. And
Right.
because it's not really applicable to what they need in their real life, they don't remember it. I think we need to come up with like ideas of training that actually are based on real things.
Hmm. I know I worked with several kids with CIs when I first, this is 15 years ago, but I did Mary Cook's Learning to Listen Sounds. I don't know if you've seen that program, but I did auditory training way back when. It wasn't my forte. I didn't love it. And told my boss, who's making a lot of money off of it, and I said, I'm sorry, but these kids aren't progressing the way I want them to be, and they need to go elsewhere. Um, it's not working. So, but it was very boring. It was repetitive. And I mean, some parts of the lesson were more
mean,
interesting, but
that's why I prefer cueing, because it
right.
goes in real life.
Hmm. And you cue during all of your lessons too?
No, I am not an auditory training person. That's up to somebody else.
Okay. You're going to do more of the hearing aids in the
I
programming.
do the hearing
Okay.
aids, and if the person wants training,
Hmm.
I'll find a person in their state, in their area,
Okay.
to do it with them.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
But I think the cueing should be used because it's something that parents can learn, and it's something that kids can understand, and it can be used even, you know, even if you use it for 20 minutes a day. I have a kid, I won't tell you where the kid was from because it wasn't Wisconsin, but let's not get into where it was. So the kid was another twin, and the hearing aids helped, but the cueing every day for a little bit made a lot of difference.
Hmm.
And every patient that I've had where I've gotten the parents to cue with them, the kids have shown significant benefit on literacy.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I love queuing. I think it's really fascinating.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
There's so many people who hate it.
Yeah, I do not hate queuing at all. It makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Just like,
I wish I could read it, but I can't lip
Mhm.
read.
mm-hmm. So,
All
Well,
right. Well, I hope you get to come to
thank
some of
you.
the others.
yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate your
Sure thing.
time.
And feel free to reach out. Okay.
Thanks. Mhm.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.